Hello, the purpose of this video is to show how you can generate a print of your site plan on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So finish your site plan and you might be wondering why these lines are solid again. It's because I adjusted the LT scale. So remember, LT scale, um, if you type in 24, let's say, you see your lines adjusted. Okay, if you make it smaller, let's say 1, then you see that it becomes solid. But in reality, if I zoom closer, it's really um, the correct line type. It's not solid, there's a break on it. It's a phantom line type. But because I'm looking at it from this far, or this extents, the line appears to be solid. So it's just a matter of adjusting your LT scale, which is called line type scale. And it's hit or miss right now. So I'm just I can put in 24, I can put in 40, and that will space it out further because you're adjusting the line type scale. Now, um, this drawing is have been drawn on what we call model space, because on your lower left, you're going to see here your model space, and then you have layouts. Okay, so if I click layout 1, then I'll see the actual paper that it will be printed on, and this is how it's going to be printed. So it doesn't really show us anything more, but let's go back to model space. And the grids that you see here, they can be turned off. If you don't like them, you simply type in grid, and then you can type in on to turn it on, and grid again to type in to turn it off. Just type in off, and it's off. When you switch to layout, the grid is still there because the grid affects only the current space which you're working on. So if you remember, we set these colors because we wanted to print them in different line weights. Okay, so that was done using a plot command, continuous English sheet, yeah. And then we adjusted our ACAD CTB. And in our ACAD CTB, we made the colors 1 through 9 to print in black. So 1, red will be printed black, yellow will be printed black, green will be printed black. The only difference is that if you look at this line weight, every color has a different line weight. Okay? Color 10 will be printed red, and it will just use the object's line weight. So 10 is not defined. Only color 1 through 9 is color black, and each one has a color line weight. So that was what we have done a few videos back. Okay, and you don't need to do it every time you have a um, drawing. You have to do it only once because it changes the CTB file for the program. Okay, and you can actually create your own CTB file. You can create your own by doing a save as, and then you just save it into its own CTB file. So that's why companies would have their own CTB file. So you can save your own CTB file. Anyway, that's how it's done. And then we change this to a PDF, and it shows here what kind of paper are we going to use. And you can change the paper here, 8.5 by 11. And you can also change from portrait to landscape. Okay. So right now, let's just cancel this because we're not going to plot. If we go here, oh, this is landscape. Okay. So if you want that to be standing, that's called portrait. We go back here. We don't need to go back actually there. Um, let's do it in layout. So over here we can type a plot and just continue single sheet, and then change it to portrait, and then apply the layout, and then just close it, and now you're gonna see it portrait mode. Okay, so you can do it in plot, but when you click OK, this will make a PDF file. So don't click OK because you're just trying to set up everything. So there's actually another command called page setup, and you can create your own layout. So here's an 8.5 by 11 that's been set. You can click new and create another one. So let's look at this 8.5 by 11 and let's modify that one. It will print in the PDF. It's 8.5 by 11. It's 8.5 by 11 here. Okay, and you have different papers you can choose from. We'll use those later. What are we going to plot? We're going to plot the layout or the display or the extent. So we typically, well, we'll set this up one later. We'll just leave it layout right now. And then we want that to be portrait. Uh, what CTB file we're going to use, AutoCAD. And then when you click OK, this is only a page setup. It's not going to print. So just you click OK and close, and that's what's going to look like. Okay. So now, this box here, this box is actually a window to the model space. Okay, so if I draw a line here, press enter, and I go back to layout, I should see that line over here. Okay, so let's draw that. Let's draw that down here. I'm going to move that right over here. And I go to layout, and I'll see that line over there. Okay, so this box that you see here, this is a viewport, and you can resize that by clicking on the edges, and then you can resize that viewport, that box that's called the viewport. You can resize that, and then so you can see your model space. You can see what you see here. Okay. Uh, by default, the layout shows you what it's going to look like. That's why everything is white now, because it's showing you white paper. And the grid, although it's off on your model space, is actually on here because the grid command in model space is not controlled uh, when you are in layout. Now, you don't need to switch to model space and layout if you just wanted to change really something really quick. You don't need to go back to model space. You go to model space when you want to like draw the building, draw the site plan, add some elements, whatever. So you go here. But when you're ready to print, you go to layout, and if you want to modify something like erase this line, you don't need to go to model space and erase it. All you have to do is double click, and now you enter that space, and now you can select the line and delete it. Okay, so you can enter by double clicking, and then to exit outside of it, you simply point outside and double click again, and then you're back. So that's called model space, and this outside the model space is what we call Paperspace. So that's why you can see a P space here. Okay, so model space, the inside of this viewport, outside the viewport is called model space. So if I don't want to see any grid here, I double click on it and then type grid, enter, and then turn it off, enter, and then go out, double click outside. There you go. Okay. Um, we'll talk about scale later. Right now, let's just look at this hatch. So if you remember when we did a page setup, when we did our CTB setup, modify CTB, color 7, which is white in model space, is actually black. Okay, so color 7 is a thick line, 1.4. Okay, uh, color red is a thin line, 0.18. So when we did this hatch, we use color white, and that means that white will be printed really thick. So in order to see what it's going to look like, we can do a plot, and then instead of clicking OK, let's define our printer as a AutoCAD PDF, and then we want to print the layout, and then want it in portrait, we wanted ACDB, and then we simply click preview. And when you click preview, this is how it's actually going to be printed, okay, on paper. It's like a solid blob or a filled rectangle for the hatch. And the reason behind that one is because we used a layer that has it's using a color white, which is going to be printed black, and white is set to print thick. So in order to fix that, we need to be aware of our color assignments. Okay, so that is why I believe where do I have a color assignment over here? Property lines, layer line type. There you go. So here, remember this line type or color assignments. We set this one up, and this should always be something you are aware of. When I was first learning AutoCAD and using AutoCAD, I always have this one printed and stuck on my monitor so that I know what the color assignments are. In due time, you will have this ingrained in your head that one is the thinnest, or then it just goes thicker and thicker and thicker. But again, each office has their own standards, so just be aware of what thicknesses are each of these colors are. Okay, so going back to AutoCAD, um, this is just a preview, so we're going to close this window to stop the preview. And then what we wanted to do, let's cancel this, is we want to change the layer of this one. So again, if you just want to change the layer, you can double click here and then select this object to change the layer, okay? Or you can go to model space and select the object and change the layer, okay? Hatch is a little bit peculiar because when you click on a hatch, so I'm going to press escape to cancel. When you click on object, you can just pull this down and change the layer of that object. Now on a hatch, when you click this object, this ribbon changes into a hatch editor and you don't see your layer. So you can change that layer by right clicking and then go into properties and you'll see your layer tab here. You can change layer over there, or you can click this little bar here, pull that down, and you'll see your layer property here. So you can change the layer by pulling this little tab here and then change the layer, okay, into whatever layer you want, okay. Now, because this is a hatch for the building, you have to create another layer that says C building. That means it's part of the building, and then you call it hatch or HATC. Always four letters, but that's just a standard. So you click on that one, okay, and then you close it. Now it's red, and red, according to our pen assignments, will be printed thin. So now if we preview this, so go back here and go out. So you don't want to print when you're in here because it's when you print when you type the plot command inside here, you're actually trying to plot the inside of your paper. So don't do that. Go outside and then type plot, um, and then pick your printer. Make sure you pick your paper, portrait, CTB file, and then you can preview. Now it's gonna look a little bit better. Okay. Um, yeah, and this is how it's gonna be printed. But again, I don't see my line weight over here. Okay, line weight over here, and then I don't like this box over here. So we're going to change those in a little while. So just close this viewport and cancel this because that's just a preview that we're after. And go ahead and generate that preview. How do you generate the preview again? Um, you can type in preview, but there's no plotter assigned yet, so we have to do a page setup first. And then let's modify, select our AutoCAD PDF printer, portrait, layout, ACTB, okay, and then click OK, close. Now it's set up, so we can now type in preview, okay, and that's what's going to look like. So, or you can go to a plot command, just don't click OK because it'll print. Simply do the same setting and click preview, and it will show you the same thing. So go ahead and generate that print. We're not that setup and look at the print preview. and we'll come back in a little while and discuss more things.